Okay, we want to cover a couple of little things in this tutorial that you'll be working on this week. And one of them is, the first one is to revolve a feature. And so here I've got this part, and this is not one you're working on this week, but we've got this circular cutout that comes down, and I can create it once and then revolve it around the part. And so the way we do that is we come up here and go circular pattern, and then we select the feature that we want, and so there it is. And then I have to select the rotation axes. Now here's where thinking about how you're going to build your part when you start, um, it's based on the center of the hole, and the center of the part is the z-axis. So I select that. Now I tell it how many I want. So 6 is like way too many. They're overlapping each other. If I say 4, you can see it highlights 4, but then that kind of messes with those holes. So I'm going to say 3. And you can adjust it here to go, we're going the full 360 degrees around the part. Depending upon what you're doing, it could be 270 degrees or 180 degrees or something like that. Okay. And then the orientation, most of the time you're going to use rotational right here, in which the feature rotates as it moves around. The fixed option is it stays in that orientation as it is here, but it revolves around. That's unusual. Okay. So most of the time you're going to stick with rotational. And then we'll tell it okay, and then it creates all of those. It saves you a lot of sketching and extruding to be able to do that. And in 2 of your projects this week, you're going to do a circular pattern, whereas in AutoCAD we would call it a polar array. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take that out. Now we want to talk about sections a little bit, and you're going to really get into sections a lot in the 1107 class. But I need to give you the basics of how to do sections in Inventor. So you start your drawing and you make your base view, which we've got here. And we come up here and we go section, and we select our view that we're going to cut. And then you're drawing your cutting plane is what you're drawing. And Inventor will snap to like the quadrant or the center or intersections or midpoints, things like that. So I'm going to come down here to the quadrant. And I haven't clicked yet, but I'm going to pull my mouse down, and you can see that projection, that it's still lined up. So that's what I want. So I'll click once, come straight up. I got a perpendicular snap to it right there, and so I'll click again, then right click my mouse and go continue. Now here's where our section view, kind of our details, or the properties is what they call it. It puts a view identifier, which is a letter. Mine says M because I've worked through a lot of sections in this drawing and doing videos and things. Most of the time you're going to do a full section in this class anyway. You're going to do a full section as opposed to a distance, and at a distance you can tell it how far you want the section to go. In this class, most of the time you're going to use full. Okay, and so now I'll pull it over here and place it, and there it's created my section and hatched the material that has been cut. This little part right here that has no hatching in it, that is this surface right here that you're seeing beyond the cutting plane. Now the hatch, this is just the default hatch pattern that Inventor uses. It's the ANSI 31 pattern, which is for cast iron or generic. Okay. If you have a material type that you're using, in your part, say it's steel or bronze or aluminum or titanium, something other than this pattern, you change it here. So we can say 32 is, two lines close together. 33 is the dashed line in between a solid line. And these are based on what material you have. Now, in your textbook, there is a chart of those different materials for what you would want to use, and you want to make it match whatever you have. The angle, most of the time you can leave the angle at 45 degrees until you start doing assembly sections, in which case each part that is hatched has a different angle to it. And sometimes most of the time you'll leave the scale at 1. Sometimes you'll need to change that based on the material type that you're dealing with. But most of the time we'll leave it at 1. So I'm going to say OK to that. So that's and this is a full section through this part. Now, this is not how you would section this part at all. So let me delete this one. Because this has a circular pattern, we would, it's not really an offset section, but we want to go through one of those holes. But then that leaves, it shows these things here, which are not correct. Okay. And even that one really is not correct either. But the thing we're trying to pick up is the circular pattern of the hole, and we would revolve it to the top. And that's how you would do it when you're dealing with a full section. And then you would place your center marks in here, okay? Okay, let's look at a half section. And so with a half section, a very similar would come up to the midpoint here and then come straight across, right click and go continue and place it. And now we have the hatching is only down here in the bottom where we're cutting, and the rest of it up here is solid material. If now let's go back and look at the hidden lines. So if I right click there and go edit view, right now we're set on hidden lines removed or a solid. And so if we turn on hidden lines, and sometimes you will want to show them in the part that's not cut, where your section is cut, those you do not want to display, so you hide the visibility on them. And in this particular case, the holes here are really close to the keyway, and so it's kind of confusing. So we would hide those also. And you got to find the one here at the bottom and hide it also. So that would be a good half section view of this part. Okay, now what happens if you messed up your cutting plane line when you put it in? If you need to adjust it, if you right click and go section properties, this deals with just your section information, okay? So you can change it to a distance as opposed to a full. But if the line is wrong, you just kind of highlight over it and grab the end of it. And you should be, we're not able to move it. So we'll have to go here to the sketch and edit that. There it is right there. It's got a horizontal constraint on it, so I can't edit it because of the way it's drawn. I'm gonna do another one because I want to show you an offset section, and that one we should be able to edit it. And you would never section this part in this manner, okay? But I want to demonstrate something to you. Okay, There are times you will do an offset section. There are drawings where you will do that, and it's really fairly common where we want to go through multiple features. But this is not one of those objects because this object is symmetrical. But what I want to show you is where you do this offset line right here, it creates an object line over in my section view. So what you want to do is select that and hide visibility of it so that it doesn't appear. And then here's one of those things where we can adjust our cutting plane line because it was not snapped to the axis or anything like that. Oftentimes, if you get this thing wrong, it's easier just to go back and delete it and start over. Okay, so that's sections in a nutshell. Okay, I took care of a lot of it. Now I want to talk about detail views. And detail views is where you want a larger scale detail of part of the part. And in this case, when we have a keyway, oftentimes it's difficult to dimension that keyway in a small scale drawing. So we do a detail, and it's right here. So we go detail view, and we select our view again. Okay, and this is fine. We either do a circular or rectangular fence, okay, to create the view. We can change the scale. We can change the identifier. The cutout shape, most of the time you're going to use jagged edges for this. Okay, and so now I want to click the center of my part, and it doesn't give you snaps for the center of anything, so I just kind of eyeball it and get to the center there, and then drag out to where it covers the information that I want. Click again, and then drag outside here and place my view. Okay, and so now I've got a detail of that keyway that's twice as big as my original drawing. And now I can annotate, so I'll do my center mark. And then I can dimension that keyway in the appropriate format. And sometimes that one is a little difficult to do, so we place it and then grab it and edit it to pull it down like so. That would be the proper way to dimension a keyway. One other thing, and I didn't do it. Let me pop another base view in here. I wanted to show you if you do your center marks before the cutting plane or after the cutting plane, it doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and put them in. So I'm going to do a circular pattern on this. So here's the center is here, and then I would click each of my holes that's going in the pattern and come back and click the start point again. And it I forgot to click OK. It's been a long day so far. Create. There we go. All right, and so now if I'm going to put, and if you're just doing a regular drawing, that's fine. We would pull that one down so it's a little bit more, and maybe even overlap that one. Okay, and that's fine if you're just doing a regular view, but if you're going to do a section view from here, because we never want to put center lines under our cutting plane line. And so what you want to do, because when you zoom in close, you can see the real thin center lines. You can see those underneath the cutting plane line. So in this case, remember I pulled this one down from the center. I select it and I grab the end and I pull it back up as close as I can get to the start of it. Okay, and so now you can see there's no lines in the dashes there. I've still got lines in the dashes here, so I have to move my mouse around until I can get, come on, come on. I'm waiting for the pop-up. Select other, there, select the center mark, and in this case I can delete that center mark because it's an individual line from the rest of them. Okay, up here, same thing. I could delete that center mark under there. If not, I would just shorten it like I did with this one here. All right. Okay, that pretty much covers an introduction to sectioning, your detail view, revolving features. You've got several drawings this week that you'll use a variety of these things in as you're working through them. So if you've got questions or problems, come and see us in the lab, send us an email. We can get you fixed up with how to solve your problem.